Number one myth about house foundations. We're going to cover that right now. And I bet you think this as well. Also, the number one problem remediation. Things that people pay tens of thousands of dollars for that causes way more damage. All right, the number one myth about house foundations is that they're supposed to be waterproof. I hear almost every day of my life that there's water in my basement and my foundation's leaking. Foundations don't leak because foundations are not supposed to be waterproof. And if everything is proper outside of a home, grade and drainage, water will never touch your foundation. A foundation has one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to provide compression load for the structure, period. That is it. Now, there are companies out there that specialize in basement waterproofing that cause a lot of structural damage, and I'm going to show you right now. This particular client, she called me earlier this year and she said, I'm getting water intrusion in my basement. I'm going to have my basement dry locked. And I said, no, don't do that. That's a big bunch of nope. She said, what do you mean? Everybody does that. They dry lock their basement. They have it waterproofed. And I'm like, that's going to cause more damage. And here's what most people don't know. When your foundation wall is here and water is flowing in from outside because your grade is negative or poor, the water only has one direction to go, and that is straight down. When it goes down, it creates pressure. It creates hydraulic pressure, and that pressure pushes the water out in all directions. That includes into your basement, but it also pushes water into the soil. And when that water goes into the soil, it creates unstable soil, and that soil starts to lean against your foundation wall. Now, a foundation wall is exactly that. It's a wall. It is not meant for lateral pressures at all. These foundation walls are very weak in this direction. So soil pressure, water pressure, frost heave can push your foundation wall inward, and it creates those horizontal cracks on the inside of the basement. Now, if you come in and you seal off the inside of the basement by dry locking it or spray foaming it or anything like the stuff I see, you are now trapping the water on the outside of the foundation, and now that water is just going to push further out into the soil, creating more soil, more lateral soil pressure, but on top of it, you're also creating the ability for that water to get trapped in the foundation wall itself. Masonry blocks, concrete is a porous material, so the water will go in there and it'll sit there, and it will over time start to erode and decay your foundation itself. And I have inspections and I have videos where I can literally shove my finger right through the masonry block foundation because it turns to mush over time. All right, so here we are on the outside of the house, and you're gonna notice a very definitive negative slope into her backyard. But even worse, from the house, you're gonna see that there is negative grade from this walkway all the way down to the foundation here. What do we see right here? We see water ponding right next to the foundation, and if we look straight up, you see a drip line all the way here, and there is no roof drainage system. As we come over here from this walkway, it slopes down and slopes right toward the house, and over here you can see it's basically directing water against the foundation. Even worse, from here all the way up to the road is all downhill from the road. That means all of the grade here, all the water is being funneled right to there. All right, so just like I said outside, we see the water intrusion in this basement. Now you see the dark discoloration of the masonry blocks, and you can see that white chalky substance that's called efflorescence. But you can see the water intrusion in here. And if you look at this wall right here, you can see it happening. You can see where the grade level is right there, and how the discoloration gets worse. But that's not the big problem. Believe it or not, water in your basement is actually a good thing happening, and I'm going to explain that too. Whenever water builds up behind these foundation walls, it creates hydrostatic pressure, and it pushes out in two different directions, and one of them is to relieve the pressure by pushing the water into your basement. If it's not able to do this, it'll push the water further out into the soil. And what I look for when I see these conditions is I look for signs like this right here, this horizontal crack that you see running across this foundation. Now, this looks like a very minor horizontal crack, and most home inspectors are going to put that in the report and say, oh, minor cracking, no structural concerns were present. But now we get to break out the laser. So with any foundation that is perfectly straight, you will see a perfectly straight laser line. But coming over here to that horizontal crack we just looked at, you will see right there, this laser line comes up, it bows over, and then back up. And grade level is right about here. So all that soil underground is pushing in against this wall, and that's why you're seeing that bowing. But let me show you, this gets way worse. I came over to this side and I saw this pilaster here that's in place. And this was put here to provide lateral support for the wall. But what did I see? I saw these little minor horizontal cracks along the mortar joints. This one up here is just a little bit worse. But check this out. That pilaster is being pushed away from the wall. You can see it's flush down here. And then as you come up here, it gets pushed away. And this wall, let's check out the laser line. You can see right there where all that bowing of the wall is happening. That's pressure from the outside pushing in. And today is a very proud moment. Got my son here today. Hello, Austin. He's in training and he will be entering the business this year. Now this is literally one of the most common things that I encounter day in and day out, and that's why I spent so much time explaining this one. Here's the bottom line. Basement water intrusion problems are never an in the basement problem, unless it's being caused by plumbing or something. But these are always an outside, out there problem. You want to address the problem at the source. You want to stop water from touching your foundation, period. Don't let anybody talk you into super expensive basement waterproofing that's on the inside. Now, there are some instances where excavating the exterior and putting in some sort of membrane, there's lots of solutions. It could be a perimeter drain system. There's lots of things on the outside that can be done, but it's never, ever, ever, ever an inside the basement problem. And don't let anybody charge you a bunch of money to fix it there, because usually you're just going to cause bigger problems out there.